Which Mario power-up is the best? It's a question you hear debated all the time. In particular, Super Mario Bros. 3 makes it really hard to choose just one, because it introduced so many fan-favorite power-ups to the series. It was the first time we saw the Raccoon Leaf, allowing Mario to glide through the air. It introduced the Hammer Suit too, giving the player the ability to throw an arc of hammers at enemies. It also gave us some pretty odd ones, like the Frog Suit, which gave Mario all the capabilities of a frog, which is pretty powerful stuff. I decided to rank these power-ups through a new lens. I trained 4 different AI agents to speedrun Mario 3, with each AI being given its own power-up. One will use only fire, one will use only frog, and the same for hammer and raccoon. We'll take a look at the speedrun results across 3 different levels to determine which power-up an AI can use most effectively to get the fastest time possible. Let's take a look at the levels our AIs will be learning to play. The first level is 1-1. The very beginning of the game seemed fitting for the start of this challenge, and it's just your standard Mario level. The second is World 3-5. I wanted to include one water level to give the Frog Suit a fighting chance, but this one proved pretty difficult for the AI to learn, as you'll see later. The final level is World 4-5, which includes 11 bullet bill launchers. I thought this would be a fitting last challenge for each AI to overcome. Before we get into the training montages though, let's briefly introduce the algorithm and learning setup used. Deep Q learning trains a neural network to estimate something called the Q function. This function takes the state as input, the last 4 frames from the game, and outputs a value for every possible action Mario can take. These lists of values essentially rank the quality of each action for the current situation. The best action, running to the right, gets the highest score. Check out my last video if you want a more in-depth explanation. These values are learned based on feedback from something called a reward function. This is essentially our grading system for how well Mario is doing, and how we train the neural network. In our case, since the end of each level is just the end of the screen, I reward Mario based on the max distance he has traveled on the x-axis. I take this value straight from the game's RAM. Additionally, there are small punishments for Mario taking damage or losing a life. I added a timeout to end the level early if Mario does not make progress fast enough. These extra values just speed up training by giving feedback on which actions are good versus which are bad. Each of the agents are allowed to take damage as part of their strategy, except for the Frog Suit. Early into training, I discovered that on land, the Frog Suit is actually so slow that the agent quickly learns the optimal behavior is to get rid of it as fast as possible, even if that means losing a bit of reward. This doesn't make for quite as interesting a video, so the Frog Suit alone is not allowed to take damage on land, or I make it start the level over. But that's enough setup. Let's look at training for the very first level. As you can see, that was a really close race between Fire and Hammer at the end. Slowing down the footage, we can see that Fire just barely wins with only a few frames to spare. The results are Fire in first, Hammer in second, Raccoon in third, and Frog unfortunately far behind the others. I think Raccoon in particular had a lot of potential, but it didn't really quite get the hang of flying, and so it lagged a bit behind the others. I presume this is due to flying just being a more difficult problem for the AI to learn. As the AI learned in each level, I also got better at tuning the algorithm, so the next 2 levels should have even more refined results, so I'm excited to show off how they do. The next level is full of water, so it'll be cool to see how the frog suit does. I have a feeling the results are about to have a big shakeup. To get training working for this level, I had to put in a lot more effort than I initially expected. You see, the model starts out using completely random actions in order to learn better strategies. This usually works great, as you saw with the last level. But here it posed a unique challenge. You see, Mario has to sink for a long time to get to the next area. But our reward function only rewards horizontal movement, not vertical. The chance of random actions having you sink for that long is almost 0%. The result? Mario only learns to run into the wall, never to sink. To bypass this during the beginning portions of training, I added a random chance of forcing Mario to sink for like 10 to 30 actions. This provided the exploration needed to beat the level. It just goes to show that an AI will only ever get as good as its training data shows it can be. With that out of the way, let's see the next training results. Did you all just see that? I think the hammer suit just pulled off a glitch at the end there. I don't know how, but it learned to jump in the middle of the air after exiting that pipe. We can see that fire actually leaves the pipe first, but this trick allowed the hammer to reach the platform right away and steal second place away from the fire flower. That is so cool. Of course, even with these fancy tricks, none could hold a candle to the all-powerful frog suit, which absolutely ran away with the victory this time. Its aquatic mobility clearly proved much too strong for the competition, especially the poor raccoon suit, which cannot even attack while underwater, claiming last place here. The race is shaping up to be pretty close right now, and I think the final level could tip the scales in any direction. Cast your bets now, because the final level is about to start. After another close race, Hammer managed to take first place. If we give each placement a score and tally up the results, we get Hammer in first overall with 10 points, Fire in second with 8, and then Raccoon and Frog tied with 6. It's a shame because Raccoon really came in clutch with the in-air mobility on this level, giving it a second place position. However, this still wasn't enough to bring its ranking above the Frog suit. Overall, this was a lot closer than I expected. I didn't spend a ton of time optimizing every power-up on every level, so this ranking shouldn't be taken like the total truth. I'm sure each could do a lot better if I spent even more time tuning the algorithm. But thanks so much for sticking around till the end. If you have any other AI ideas or fun challenges for an AI to take on, let me know. Till next time.